Hey everybody, I wanted to share with you a really cool book about a really cool lady. This book is called Me, Jane, and it is about Jane Goodall, who I know many of you know a little bit about, maybe some of you know a lot about. Some of you probably have never heard her name until right now. So before I read the storybook, I just want to give you a little bit of information about who Jane Goodall is as a real person. When Jane Goodall was 10 years old, she decided that when she grew up, she would go to Africa, live with the animals, and write about them. Almost everyone told her this goal was impossible. Her family had little money, and she was a girl in a time when girls were not encouraged to pursue adventurous careers. But her mother, thankfully, encouraged her to follow her dream. When Jane finished school, she continued to learn about Africa and worked hard to save enough money to go there. She finally arrived in 1957, met famed anthropologist Louis Leakey, and began studying chimpanzees in the Gombe Stream Game Reserve, now known as the Gombe Stream National Park, in Tanzania in 1960. One of Jane's most important observations was her discovery that chimpanzees were able to make and use tools. Until this time, experts thought that only humans were able to do so. But based on Jane's remarkable studies, the world was forced to rethink what makes humans different than animals. She wrote about these discoveries and countless other observations in her 1986 book. Today, Jane travels around the world raising awareness about the plight of chimpanzees and environmental conservation. So Jane Goodall, real person, and this book is about when she was young, and I just think it's such a great story and has great illustrations and artwork. It is called Me, Jane, and that is an actual photograph of Jane Goodall with a stuffed animal. Jane had a stuffed toy chimpanzee named Jubilee. That's a great name. She cherished Jubilee and took him everywhere she went. And Jane loved to be outside. She watched birds making their nests, spiders spinning their webs, and squirrels chasing one another up and down the trees. Jane learned all that she could about the animals and plants she studied in her backyard and that she read about in books. I bet some of you are doing a lot of studying about nature things these days. She focused on wild birds, the Alligator Society. What else do we have here? Cobra's Puzzle of Competition, the elephant, the giraffe compared to a human. She's just got lots of sketches in here. One day, curious Jane wondered where eggs came from. Give me a thumbs up if you have ever wondered, where do eggs come from? So she and Jubilee snuck into Grandma Nut's chicken coop, hid behind some straw, and they stayed very, very still and observed the miracle of an egg. I'm not sure if you can see this cute picture here, but it is a chicken laying an egg, and there's Jane like, "Whoa, what?" It was a magical world full of joy and wonder, and Jane very much felt a part of it. Jane often climbed her favorite tree, which she named Beech. She would lay her cheek against its trunk and seem to feel the sap flowing beneath the bark. Jane could feel her own heart beating, beating, beating. With the wind in her hair, she read and reread the books about Tarzan of the Apes, in which another girl, also named Jane, lived in the jungles of Africa. Jane dreamed of a life in Africa, too. You can see her imagination. Here's her house, but it's now surrounded by animals that are more common in Africa. And a life living with and helping all animals. She knew from a really young age that she wanted to help animals. At night, Jane would tuck Jubilee into bed, say her prayers, and fall asleep. to awake one day, you can tell she's a bit older here, to her dream having come true. And there's a real photograph of Jane and a real chimpanzee. Wonder if that one's named Jubilee. Now this is the part that I read to you about her before we started, and I just wanted to end with reading a message from Jane. This reminds me a lot of our school's focus on local action and the many local actions that you guys do. A message from Jane: each one of us makes a difference. We cannot live through a single day without making an impact on the world around us, and we have a choice as to what sort of difference we make. The life of each one of us matters in the scheme of things, and I encourage everyone, especially young people, to make the world a better place for people, animals, and the environment. Children are motivated when they can see their positive results that their hard work has. As I travel and meet hundreds of groups, they're always eager to tell Dr. Jane what they've been doing and how they're making a difference in their communities, whether they're doing something simple like recycling or collecting trash, or something that requires a great deal of effort like restoring a wetland or raising money for street children or a local dog shelter. They are a continual source of inspiration for me and for other children around the world. I invite you to get involved. And again, the awesome thing about you guys, Vestal Kids, is you are all involved in local actions. Anyway, I hope you loved this story, and if you're curious, you can look up some more information about Jane Goodall. She's pretty fascinating.